Welcome class. In the last turn, we had discussed about the demand, types of demand, factors affecting the demand. Now today we are going to learn the factors affecting losses and waste. Yes, we do incur losses and waste uh, in the distribution system. Now what are the factors which affect the losses and waste? Number one, watertight joints. Now by watertight joints, we mean bad plumbing. What is bad plumbing? Bad plumbing means that the joints are not properly sealed, connected, and there is a space for water to leak from those joints. The other factor which accounts for loss and waste is pressure in the distribution system. Now, if you got leaks in your distribution system and the pressure in the pipelines is more, then the losses would be more. System of supply. System of supply means whether the supply is intermittent or the continuous supply. If the supply is continuous and there is a leakage in the system, then the losses would be more. Metering. Metering is important. Let me give you an example. You've got 2 points A and B in the distribution system. At point A, the reading of the volume of water is say X. And at point B, the reading is Y. So the water consumed in between these 2 points A and B is X minus Y. And actually it should have, the consumption should have been less than X minus Y. जैसे ए पॉइंट पे 100 रीडिंग थी आपके वॉल्यूम वाटर की, बी पे आपकी 60 है, मतलब 40 बीच में कंज्यूम हुआ है between A and B, but there are only 2 residences which consume only 30 units of water. So where has those 10 units gone? That means those 10 units have been lost, or there is some leakage between point A and B through which these 10 units of water are being lost. So this gives you an idea. Then unauthorized connections. This is a very, very important point because before I elaborate on this, let me give you an example of the electricity connections. क्या होता है, electricity pole से एक wire आता है which enters into the meter installed in your residence. From that meter, the electricity is distributed to the rooms and to the other points in the house. Now, whatever electricity is being consumed, that is being recorded in that meter, right? The same is the concept with the water system also. From the main line, the line comes to the water meter, and from water meter, it gets distributed to the complete house. Now, what is the use of it? Whatever water is being consumed, it is being metered, the data is being collected. Now, if someone drills an unauthorized connection in the water distribution pipe and takes a separate pipeline directly to the house, then that particular pipeline is not metered, it's not being billed. So this actually is accounting for the losses and waste. This water is not being accounted. It is unaccounted water which is being consumed by the residents. So this would be falling under the category of losses and waste. Now, before we proceed further, let us study 2-3 important terms, because these terms would be utilized in designing the various treatment units. For say sedimentation tank, filtration units, coagulation units. What is the maximum daily consumption? It is 1.8 times the average daily demand. The average daily demand we have already understood, that say 135 liters per person per day consumption. We take it as 1.8 times the average daily consumption, the average daily demand of the individual. Maximum hourly consumption, it is 1.5 times the average daily demand. It is taken for the peak day of accounting for all 365 days in an year. It is the maximum hourly consumption of the peak demand. Say for instance, एक साल में एक 365 डेज में कोई एक पर्टिकुलर डे जिस दिन मैक्सिमम डिमांड थी, और उस मैक्सिमम डिमांड में भी उस दिन में किस घंटे आपकी कितनी डिमांड थी, उस वैल्यू को लेते हैं, उसका 1.5 टाइम्स वी डू इट. So this is the maximum hourly consumption. These data, this data is actually very important with regards to designing and maintaining the records of the consumption. Now, what is the coincident draft? It is the maximum daily demand or the maximum daily consumption, which is 1.5 times the average daily demand, plus the fire demand. We've already understood what the fire demand is, and this particular value of coincident draft is actually required when we design the service reservoirs. जो ये आपके घर के लोकेलिटी में घर के पास जो ये पानी की टंकी होती है, इसको जब हम डिज़ाइन करते हैं, इसका वॉल्यूम क्या होना चाहिए, कितना पानी इसमें स्टोर होना चाहिए, कैसे, तो इसी में हम मैक्सिमम डेली डिमांड भी रखते हैं और फायर डिमांड का भी प्रोविजन रखते हैं. बिकॉज इन केस ऑफ फायर, बार बार फायर स्टेशन से टैंकर भर के पानी आपके घर के आसपास नहीं आ पाएगा. सो टू extinguish the fire you need water at a regular interval and continuously probably. So that water is procured from that service reservoir which has the provision for fire demand. So please this is just try to understand these are the terms which would be of our future reference during the course of this subject. Now, factors governing design period. Design period or the service life of the structure. We've already discussed in the last turn that every structure has a service life. Means the number of years for which that service will be, structure would be useful to the community. You design a overbridge for a service life of 20 years. After 20 years, that structure would fall, but then it will have congestion. Same goes with the water treatment plant. We have to design a treatment plant taking in view the future population, the future demand, so that it can serve the purpose for say next 15, 20, 25 years. That is why it is very important to ascertain the population, say for the design period of 20 years. Now, what is the population after 20 years? How will we calculate it? We'll study in the coming lectures. But today, first of all, we'll study the factors governing the design period. What are the factors which actually govern the design period? Number one, the useful life of components and the chances of their becoming obsolete. Now, as we all know that there are technical advancements. We buy a mobile today, but the higher upgraded version comes in another 6 months or so. So before we design a treatment plant or its units, we need to understand what is the useful life of the components and when will they become obsolete. Next, ease and difficulty likely to be faced in expansion. This is a very important point in civil engineering. We must always have a future space for expansion. Now, how easily or with how much difficulty can we expand our project is very important. We go in phases during construction. Say today the water treatment plant need to have a capacity of 5 million liters per day. But in 20 years from now, this value is 20 million liters per day. So we would like to say design a treatment plant for 10 million liters per day, which may have a service life of say 10 years, and then we need to have a space so that in due course of time we can expand our project. This is essential because we would not be spending the entire amount of our funds on a single day. Then amount and availability of additional investment. Ideally, we would like to have a service life of 100 years. But then is it advisable? So that is why we go in phases. We have a requirement of 5 million liters per day, 5 MLD per day. And in 10 years from now, the requirement would be 10 MLD. And in 20 years from now, it will be 20 MLD. So we go for 10 MLD water treatment plant and a space for future expansion. And then we pump in the money and upgrade our plant capacity to 20 MLD. But after 10 years, we need to study the amount and availability of the additional investment, because what a particular thing which costs 10 rupees today will definitely not cost 10 rupees in 10 years from now. So the value of the money also goes up. So these things have to be calculated, have to be assessed, and then it has to be decided. So that is why this particular point is very, very important in governing the design period. Now, rate of interest on borrowings. If the project costs 100 crores of rupees, no one puts in 100 crores of rupees from his own pocket. They obviously take loans from the financial institutions, banks, money lenders. But then whatever they get money from these points are at a certain rate of interest on their borrowings. So the taking in account of the rate of interest, the amount of loan, and the installments, the value of the installment in which the loan has to be repaid is to be assessed. If you take 100 rupees from the market and you're not in a capacity of regaining your 100 rupees with some profit, then you are at a loss. So these things have to be really assessed before moving in with any project. Then the very important thing, anticipated rate of population growth. This particular point is very important because at the end of the day, you need to have the data on population so as to decide on the plant capacity and the design period. Example, आपने डिसाइड किया कि आज पॉपुलेशन 10 है, आज से 20 साल बाद it would be 50. That is what you anticipated. And based on this data, you made a project on water treatment plant for a design period of 20 years. Aaj population 20 years from now, the population would be 50 people, say for example. But your anticipation went wrong and the population reached the figure of 50 in say 12 years from now. So your design period was cut short from 20 years to 12 years. That is why this particular point is very, very, very important. We need to study the population growth, reach to a very optimum, very factual figure of the population, and then design the design period. That is why, and in coming lectures, we'll also see the various methods of population forecasting, various methods, and every method has its advantages and disadvantages. But then, before estimating the population growth, one question strikes our mind. Why is there a population change? What are the factors which are responsible for the population growth? Very true. Number of births, number of deaths, number of migrations. For example, a population of a city is 100 persons. Next year, there were 10 births, 7 deaths, and 5 migrations. So there was an addition of 10, and there was a loss of 5 plus 10, 15. So the overall effect was the population of the city was 95 next year. It got down. It got down. So migration means a particular family has migrated from one place to another. A family moved from, say, Lucknow to Delhi, or a family moved from Lucknow to US. So this data is being collected by the authorities every year and is being accumulated. So these are the factors which are responsible for the population growth. And this data is being maintained by the authorities. When a child is born, a birth certificate is made. Birth certificate is made in the Nagar Nigam. So there you have the account of all the births. In case of any deaths, you need to inform the authorities that death certificate is being released. So this data is also being maintained. आप लोगों ने देखा होगा अक्सर इलेक्शन के टाइम पे लोग आते हैं, they give you, they jot down the data, they note down the data कि कौन कौन यहाँ रह रहा है, कौन कहाँ चला गया, या कितने लोग हैं. तो ये these are the data which are collected and which are when combined together gives you the details of the population growth or population. Now, what are the methods of forecasting the population? There are several methods of forecasting the population. And those are: first, arithmetic increase method; second, geometric increase method; third is incremental increase method; decreasing growth rate method; simple graphical method; comparative graphical method; master plan method; ratio method, or logistic curve method. But before we study these methods, there are two things which I'd like to bring to your notice. Number one is the log curve, logistic curve, which we say. The rate at which the population increases with respect to time. It will give you an idea of which method to use to ascertain the population. Not every method can be used at any point of time. I'll give you a broad view about this in the coming lectures when we deal with all these methods in the numerical form. Right? We'll study that log curve also, and then we'll take up these methods also. Next point, not all methods are having their numerical approach. Arithmetic increase method, geometric increase method, incremental increase method, decreasing growth method, and logistic curve method. These are the methods which are based on the numerical approach. Simple graphical method, comparative graphical method, master plan method, and the ratio method is based on the theoretical approach. For instance, simple graphical method. Say for a city like Lucknow, we draw a graph of the population versus time. Say in year 1950, the population of Lucknow was A, 1960 it was B, 1970 was C, 1980 was D, 1990 was E, and so on till 2010. We plot a graph for all these values of population versus time. We study the curve. How is the curve behaving? We extend the curve to get a tentative value for the year 2020. Now this is a simple graphical method. In the same way, we have the comparative graphical method also. We got master plan method, we got ratio method. Say master plan method. Now what is master plan method? It is also called a zoning method. Now, these days whenever a city is planned or it is expanded, it is done according to a plan. Like, for example, the city of Chandigarh is well-planned city. It is on the iron grid pattern where the plots or houses are clearly earmarked, and you can study the number of how many number of houses are there in a particular locality. You can simply count them because you've got a master plan for it. The development of that city is not in a haphazard way. It's properly planned. Now, when you can plan, when you planned your city like this, so you can count the number of residences or households, and when you can count the number of residences, you take the population at the rate of say 4 persons per residence. So a tentative value of population is ascertained. So this is the master plan method. We've got advantages and disadvantages of each and every method. I'll give you a very clear view of all these methods by taking an example, a numerical example, and I will take each and every method and discuss in detail about the methods. एक न्यूमेरिकल लिया, उस न्यूमेरिकल को अरिथमेटिक इंक्रीज से सॉल्व किया, ज्योमेट्रिक से किया, इंक्रीमेंटल इंक्रीज से किया, डिक्रीजिंग ग्रोथ से किया. एक ही न्यूमेरिकल सेट को हमने न्यूमेरिकल वैल्यूज को जब इन मेथड से सॉल्व किया तो यू विल हैव अ क्लियर व्यू कि किस में वैल्यू ज्यादा आ रही है, किस में कम आ रही है, क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है. You will get a clear view of all these things once we start with the numericals. So in today, let us revise what we've done today. We have had a word with factors affecting the losses and waste, watertight joints, pressure and distribution system, system supply, metering and unauthorized connections. Then we studied about the maximum demand. Then we had discussed about the factors governing the design period, and these all 5 points are really very important when we go in for the design of any structure. Very important. Factors responsible for population growth, and then the population forecasting methods. We'll deal with these methods in detail in the next turn, and we'll deal with them taking numerical values. But before we bring an end to this lecture, let me talk about one more thing in the factors governing design period. Whenever we estimate the cost of a particular project, we take in cognizance of all the factors: the land value, the rate of interest, exigency, contingencies, profits, everything, everything. And the important part is how to phase out the project. The project is developed in phases. For an example, you develop a township. आप 100 acres की township पूरी बना के you don't sell it out. You go in phases. आपने एक मल्टी स्टोरीड बनाया, आपने रो हाउसेस बनाए, आपने ड्यूप्लेक्स बनाए, along with the basic amenities like recreation points, banks, then schools, XXX. So these things are really very important. Very important. So class, we will study about the methods in detail on the next turn, and I hope you've got the points which I had discussed today. Thank you.